You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he goes me. And he gets caught real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, tons of blood and gold. Always wanting more, freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel it worth their body. And if you start shit, you be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You be chewed up and discarded. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me...
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Tuesday night episode of The Voice of Reason. It is good to see everybody. Mike, how was your holiday? I hope you had a very good time with the family.
Yeah, I am, as usual, still full because I try and pack myself full of food. But yeah, it was good. I can't complain.
Yeah, I got to tell you, because I was, it was a lonely Easter for me because, my mom's on vacation in Georgia. Like, my son's, he's in the other room, but funny. You know what I mean? So
is you.
I was there. It was a rough day. And ever since my father passed away, like, holidays are always rough for me.
Yeah.
So I was feeling very lonely. And then, like, I was very frustrated because, not frustrated, just I think overwhelmed because of all the stuff we've been doing, adding the third show. And then what we're going to talk about tonight, because it's 8 days until the rally against fascism in Washington, D.C.
That's
and
crazy.
I woke up today and all of a sudden we had some amazing people step up and donate money to help us, Mike and I, to the show to get us down to Washington, D.C. because we had plans. We wanted to plan to go to like the Smithsonian and live stream on the 29th. And then we're going to do a show from the hotel on the 29th in the evening, like we would normally do because it's Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, we'll be live at the rally all day long. We're going to do an actual podcast. I'm bringing my studio mic with me. We're taking our cameras.
We're going to hobble it together on the fly. Let me tell you.
And again, we don't know what we're doing. I mean, believe it or not, all this stuff has just been us messing around and figuring things out. That's literally how this show came to be. I asked Mike one day, he's like, dude, you want to do a podcast? He's like, all right. And we just kind of went from there. So we have a very special episode again tonight, bringing back all of our guests. Well, most of our guests. We have Jasmine back and we have Tom back, the two people that have originated and facilitated most of this process for this rally here in Washington, D.C. on the 30th. I'm so excited and honored just to be part of it. And I see Tom has disappeared again on me, so I'm going to go ahead and bring Jasmine on.
Wait, he's back.
All right, there he is. All right, so let me bring these two guys on.
Tom phase shifts in and out of reality. Is Tom here?
I'm just trying to fix my microphone, that's all.
Oh, you're good. Jasmine, I'm sorry, I keep clicking the button here. Hi, welcome back.
Hello. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. Like we were all on Tennessee Brando's show earlier today. For those of you that don't know that, go check that out because we had more guests on there, and it was actually he said it was his biggest panel that he's had so far on the show. So he's been a big supporter of ours, and I'm glad you guys got to meet because I know Tom was excited and wanted to meet him.
Yep.
So I'm glad we were actually able to make it happen because his schedule has been packed lately.
Well, he deservedly so is becoming a hot commodity because he speaks the truth. He's the coolest dude you're ever going to meet. He also happens to be a great musician. So the guy is really starting to see the benefits of his hard work and people appreciate what he has to say. So he's going around starting to travel a little bit now.
His song went viral. I don't know if you guys know this, Tom and Jasmine. He's the one that wrote the song when Jasmine Crockett came out with the bleached blonde dad built butch body. He wrote the song, like he wrote a theme song about it, and it went completely viral. Jasmine Crockett reposted it, and I think
that's right. He was she was
on his show, wasn't she?
She was on his show talking about it.
Yeah, I remember. All right, but I'm glad you guys were able to meet, and I'm just glad we're able to get the word out.
I mean, he's always been so happy to use his platform to help people that are of like mind and anti-fascist, pro-democracy, patriotic Americans. So it's really cool that he stepped up for us. He didn't have to do that, so that's awesome.
Hold on one second.
He's talking.
My dogs are fighting again. They'll start playing and get real loud, so I had to calm them down real quick. All right, so welcome back to the show. Tonight we are going to talk again about the rally Well, I want to talk about like all the things that you guys have accomplished from like just like the inception, because everything starts with an idea. Everything starts with just somebody having a crazy random thought. I mean, it's literally how I came to be where I'm at right now.
It's true.
And you guys have I've watched you guys put so much, because we're all in a group chat. So I've watched you guys just put so much work and effort into this, calls, emails, getting the permits. Just, have you guys ever done this before? Or is it your first time?
So I don't know how much of this you guys know. So the original idea of this was, over a month ago. We're driving home one day, and Tom just looks at me and he goes, "I have an idea." And I'm like, "Well, sure, babe," because he has many ideas.
A real
relate,
man, if you will.
Yeah.
Or so he thinks. But I would say maybe he's more of a dreamer. So he's got all these really wonderful ideas, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think I just happen to be the more practical half of our relationship.
You can't have two dreamers and two practical people.
There's
Nothing
balance.
will get done in either direction.
So like he's come to me before with things, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but like, where are you going to start? And he has no idea. And I said, well, I need you to get your resources to figure out how you're going to do this, because I'm not going to start it for you. I want you to do this. Is your thing. Mm-hmm. And he was always like, oh, well, this can be our thing. I said, no, because that kind of feels like malicious compliance. So, I don't like that. I feel like I'm being.
You love me. Do these things for me.
I was like, but I know he meant it from a good, good place in his heart. And finding out that, you guys and Liz and Diana and, everybody else who's really hopped on board to help this like little itty bitty idea in my, my SUV in the middle of, where were we? Atlantic City Expressway.
Oh God,
we're all good ideas start, right?
Yeah, so that's a great place to have an idea.
I think it's interesting.
But yeah, so like we just wanted, I'm just happy that it's like it's coming to fruition. I'm so excited for the 30th, and honestly, I know like maybe I'm putting my foot in my mouth, but I'm excited for what's to come afterwards, because we're not done, and
it's just the beginning.
That's the thing that I think is most important, and it's something that Jeremy and I have actually been searching for a while in our little podcast journey. Is we wanted to make a difference. We didn't know how to, so we were lucky enough to start cultivating this amazing community who kept encouraging us to just keep doing whatever the heck we do every week. But to be able to finally start linking up with people, like we've known Liz for a long time, and we've gotten to work with her. We've worked with Defensive Democracy a little bit. To get to know you guys and be able to really be a part of building something. And, to see people like you work so hard to get an idea so quickly, I think is the crazy thing, Tom. Like, Jasmine said it a little over a month ago, and you're talking about getting permits, calling Congress people, calling senators, calling all these things, pulling it together. It's insane, but it can be done. And I think that's an important message. Anyone can do this, right?
I mean, it's always been one of those things where, I've put myself out there, and things that wouldn't make sense happen.
Yep.
Doing, protests in a sundown town where, things are.
It's crazy.
The opposition, outweighs you like that. Those are things that are just don't seem possible. So we're doing things that now are a little bit bigger.
Yep.
And a lot of people didn't think it was going to be possible, so here we are.
Yep. It's amazing. It's really cool to be able to see that people who want to do something and have an idea, and this idea is not a selfish idea, it's a selfless idea. And I think it's important that we need to understand that the more you can do for other people, it really does actually build something in you. I don't want to call it character. I want to call it like a sense of camaraderie. The more you do for other people, the more there's an appreciation. And it helps grow.
It's bringing back roots, Mike, because do you remember like people don't know their neighbors anymore. And I mean,
and it's funny.
And for right reasons, I understand. But we need that sense of community back.
It's funny you say that because I've always hated the whole, kids, they don't go outside, they're playing video games. Okay, great, but we're actually more connected now than we ever were. The problem is we forgot to connect with people in our immediate areas. And maybe that will never be us hanging out online with our neighbors. But we also need to make time to look next to each other and see who's in our community, because the community is what creates everything. It's what stops the fascists. The stronger community you have, just like you have a bunch of trees, right? And the more trees you have, the deeper the roots, you stop the flood. Well, the more ties you have to your community, the more you could stick together, the more you're less likely to turn on each other and report on each other, stuff that the certain administration wants us to do. They want us to break down the community. But this is something that can help build the community. Hey, Liz, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Liz.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Good. How was your meeting? You sounded like you were pretty frustrated.
I'm pretty sure it'll make national news. Our board left the room for 3 times.
What?
Is that because they're babies or
because
toddlers?
They don't like what the public was saying to them.
Oh, no.
Shocker.
Little elected lives couldn't handle it.
Speaking of education.
What did they expect? What kind of reaction did they expect?
Well, and they're paid like a first-year teacher here in Florida. So it is amazing to me that these people making, $40,000, $50,000 can't stomach public outcry. It's really, I don't know. And then the funny part, I know you guys, because you're on mics all the time, will love this. They have this really bad pattern that they have. They forget that they're on hot mic and they go away from the board. We can hear them in the bathrooms and as they're chatting. So they're out there talking about how the audience was full of deplorables.
Of course. Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that because we're amateurs at this. And I even before we go live on location, I made sure to tell Mike, all right, because I almost doxed myself once.
Oh,
my
God.
It's
something to think about.
It's something you just don't think about. I was at one of my first protests. I was at my first protest and I have a mic on, but luckily it was a horrible mic. And I gave this lady my phone number and email address. I'm like, on the way home, I realized it. So I rewatched the video and thank God my mic was absolute shit. So it didn't pick it up. So we're good. Yeah. So it's amazing that these people don't know they're on a mic.
Now that we're all here, I think maybe it's a good time to transition into the point of the show because we have our resident teacher here and we have someone who we are excited to have on because something, again, Jeremy and I have always tried to make a strong point about is there's too many people in this country that try and want to preserve a memory or bring back the past. And there are not enough people in our government. There are not enough people speaking for us that are trying to move the country forward, right? Mm-hmm. You don't live forever, but what you leave could affect the future forever. So we've always believed that for millennials, Gen X, the ones that could figure it out, our job now is to hold off the tide because you can't fix all this stuff in a generation. You could destroy stuff real quick. Look at what certain administrations are doing right now, how fast the country's falling apart, but it's hard to fix it and put things back. And we need to get the hands of this entire country in Gen Z's embrace. And then Gen Z has to start fixing things and hand it to Gen Alpha. And that's how you actually build progress. So I think we have someone we'd like to bring on. And we already, Jasmine, you said you were going to do an introduction?
Oh, yes. So a part of our organizing efforts beyond just talking about the rally on the podcast is about some of the things that are going on. And one of the topics that we really want to talk about is the fact that they are currently looking to restart collecting deferred loan payments. I am affected by that, and I'm sure there are about 5 million other people who are.
That was the number I saw.
But there's somebody else I think that should speak a little bit more about this because they are a college-age student. Can we bring up Deep, please?
Yes.
Hey, Deep, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
thank you guys for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is this your first podcast? Have you ever been on a podcast before? I forgot. I didn't ask you before.
This is actually my first podcast.
Another one. We got another one.
Good place to
Wait,
start.
another one. Wow, there's some record.
Well,
yeah.
Tom, we're Tom's first podcast. He keeps hopping off of me.
No idea what's happening over there.
I don't know.
We
He's
seem to
probably
keep
answering a message or
developing
something.
really good relationships with veterans and students, and I am absolutely okay with that, because as far as I'm concerned, that represents the two halves of a functional society that can educate itself, protect itself, and progress and move forward. So as someone who is in the middle of this, who is being educated right now, I want to know what made you want to be active in politics, or at least in trying to spread a word of truth and try and fight fascism as it was. How did you see what's going on and go, I got to get involved?
Well, I'll be honest, is that when I initially started with politics, in fact, my interest wasn't even in politics at all. Like, I literally just wanted to do history because history is my favorite thing to do. Like, it was history that got me into this. Like, watching videos like Oversimplified tell me, oh, this is what happened in World War II and how, like, the Allies kind of defeated Nazi Germany, and also like
There's more to that.
keeping. Okay, so
No,
so
you know what I
it's like,
mean, is like there's more and you wanted to learn it and discover it.
yeah, I want to learn it and discover, and I was like, okay, so that's what happened in World War II, because it's always just so complex and there's not even a true story. And then I'm just like, oh, what did we do? And then it was like, okay, so we went to war, we went to Nazi Germany to defeat fascism, and by doing that, we ushered in a new world order and such. And it just got me so interested. It's like we ushered a new world order, we introduced, like, a lot of countries were getting freed and such. And then it was then I was just like, all right, history's getting interesting. And I kept going in more and more in depth in history. But then I think the moment that sparked my involvement in politics, that just like got me just so into and such, was like the election of 2016. Like, I remember
Right.
I was in middle school at the time, and it was a long time. Everyone was saying, "Oh, Hillary's gonna win. Like, she would
I'm
never
sold.
like, she would never lose to Trump and such." And I was also under the impression that Hillary was gonna win. And
We
so I
all
was
were.
like, okay, yes. And I was like, okay, so it's just gonna be a simple election. I just go to bed, getting ready for school next day, and then I wake up next morning. I turn on TV, and they say Donald J. Trump becomes the 45th president in the United States. And I was just like gut punched from there. And I was just
Yep.
like, how?
I'm having
I was just
flashbacks.
like, yeah, I was just like, how in the world did America, the most like well, I could say developed nation, if we're gonna count that at this
Well,
point,
that's
but like,
what we thought, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's what
yeah,
we've been,
exactly.
well,
That's
it's,
what I thought.
it's what we've been groomed to believe.
correct.
Groomed to believe and groomed to think that we're this like global leader in facilitating peace and such. Vote for someone who's literally gonna take a step back in it. And it just didn't sit right with me. It's like they've all heard his rhetorics, and yet they're just like, nah, Obama was just not good enough. We need someone who can bring back America's values and such.
Whatever.
And I'm just like, what about
Yeah.
the values our founding fathers established? Like, are we just supposed to betray our neighbors or any of that such? Because we Americans are from all backgrounds, you know. Some of them are immigrants, and immigrants, like I learned, immigrants, this is from Hamilton, so shout out to them.
Yes.
They get the job done, and they
get
build
the
the
job
nation.
done.
Yeah.
I think that's what piqued my interest in everything. Oh, I'm sorry, but I just want to jump off the World War II thing, because like that's what really I think that's one of the reasons I was able to really see the parallels between what really happened in Nazi Germany, like the origins of it. Because my mom was orphaned as a result of the Nazis, born in occupied Poland, adopted by a German woman who was forced sterilized because she was disabled. She was forced sterilized by the Nazis. So like my interests go pretty deep. So when this all started to happen, Mike and I have been calling this for 18 months now. Yeah. We've done episodes where we're like, look, Trump is the next, Adolf Hitler. There is no denying it.
We don't make claims. We try and make an inference, if you will, and then support it and let people decide, is that where we're headed? Is that where we came from? But history is history. If you stop teaching it, if you eradicate it, if you change it, if you alter it, if you whitewash it, you lose what holds a society together, what builds a communal sense of country. You actually are interrupting patriotism and you're supplanting it with indoctrination, because if you aren't looking at your entire history and learning from it, if you're just ignoring the bad parts and whitewashing it to make it seem like we just have always loved everyone and us and the Native Americans just had pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving, you're losing out on what you're supposed to be doing by reading history, which is learning from it. Mm-hmm. So I guess an interesting question is, I think we all have some opinions on education and how they've gone a little too much in the standardized test route, not enough. They're losing a little bit on the substance, and they start cutting away from where? History, music, arts. We understand that. Mm-hmm. So if you were in school when the Trump regime was in its infancy in 2016, you were in middle school and you're in college now, where did you get your history? Because this stuff is too new to being taught. Did you read about World War II history on your own after you saw insufficient information in what you were being told, and you're like, I got to learn more? And then you started seeing the parallels, and were you like, whoa, I gotta help out here. I gotta let people know this is crazy.
And that's actually the fun fact. Yes, that's like the time when history was just starting to like repeat itself. Like I may have read about World War II or so, and the rise of Nazi Germany and the rise of fascism, and even nationalism itself being this core component. And I was like, I didn't give much thought about it, but then when I delved in deeper into it of how nationalism, especially like the rise of far right, plays into a role, I'm just like, this is like a course of history that's repeating itself. It happened in Germany, it happened in Italy, and it even happened in other countries post Cold War as well. And it's like, it's showing like warning signs that there are leaders that are willing to get the masses of the populace to have this like anti-establishment base to like go after anyone that they don't think besides this like cult of belief, essentially.
You know, that's amazing to hear someone of your age. My God, I can't believe I just said that in front of actual humans. I did the old man thing, but I really mean it, because I'm jaded and I'm grumpy and I think everyone's an idiot. But that's not based, but that's not necessarily based generationally. Like, I've never been one of those people that once I got to a certain age went, young kids are stupid. I've always, for some reason, looked at youth as a possibility, not a detriment. And to be able to see someone like yourself who is learning the lessons, you took what you can in school, you're learning on your own, you're applying it to what you see in the world around you, in your country. But it's more complicated than people think. You have to see where all the threads are coming from. You know, you talk about nationalism. That is one very specific component of fascism. You talk about economic control, economic displacement. You talk about wage differences and oligarchy. All these different components have been being put in place since the 80s, Ronald Reagan. And now we're seeing the results of it. And you're the prime example of a generation, or a group within a generation, that is going to be shoved out into the world with the inability to get an apartment on a 40-hour-a-week salary. There's a report that just came out. There's nowhere in the United States that anyone can get a 1-bedroom apartment on a 40-hour-a-week minimum, like, job salary. Okay. You're going into the world where you now know your debts are going to be held against you. Jasmine, we're going to get to that very soon, because a certain administration is now calling in the debts on students because they want to be able to grab the ability for you to have an education. Where do you see yourself when you graduate? And I know that's a ridiculous question. You'll probably be asked it a million times, but what world do you see yourself stepping in, and what could you do to survive it or change it? I know that's a ridiculously huge question.
That's loaded.
It's all right. I'll admit, I have been asked about this question so many times. I've been asked about this by my friend. I've been asked about this by my parents, because my parents are always like, you gotta go, you'll graduate from college, you'll get good grades, and then you'll get a great job. And I'm just like, what jobs? Like, the federal government's already gutted everything. So but I think when I see myself graduating, I would say by 2027, it's just someone who learned what he can about like politics in general. Because initially in high school, in middle school, I was only familiar with the basics of politics, but now I'm getting more into it. It's just like there is just so much like at stake at this point, you know? Like, the differences of our actions can have huge implementing consequences. And people may say, oh, politics doesn't bother us. Why should we care? But like, politics will bother you whether you like it or not, and such that like, and for me, I feel like my possible future would be just to be like interacting with politics no matter what, like whether it be at the international stage, because I'm a current student studying international affairs in security policy and and a concentration, well, minor in Asian American studies, because I always focus on Asia and look at it as like prime example, because I see it, because for Asia, they've been through so much. Like they've been through rapid democratization. Like we've seen it from South Korea. They had a presidential like martial law, and the people rose up.
They just got rid of them.
Exactly. And it just felt, and it just was, and it made me amazed. It's like if the mass mobilization of people can unite and actually hold the democracy accountable, then it feels like that could be work for us too. But what matters is if we can like gather the people needed. And I feel like for me personally, my future would be just like working with like grassroots organizations who are like trying to defend even the most like minor people, like people from the LGBTQ community, people of color, people undocumented, and even low income people. Like there's some that can't even like afford medical debt. And like, I mean, and I can say this from my personal experience, because both my parents didn't have health insurance for about almost 4 years after like leaving their first job. And they just got into health insurance. So it's been like deliberating for them. And I just feel like for me, it's more of like sticking up for the people that deserve the voice to be spoken. So
well, job with an absolutely enormous open-ended question.
Right?
No, first of all, this was his first podcast. That was
amazing.
That was very
more eloquent.
I apologize if it's so long.
Right?
I apologize if it's so long.
I'm gonna clip
No, we love that.
No, that was great. No, I agree though, because I think honestly that's why the cracks are starting to show in this administration's plan is the amount of pushback. I guarantee they thought they were going to be the alpha males and they were going to bully their way through the entire world. I'm almost guaranteed that's what they thought. They didn't think that, all of a sudden now Greenland's talking to China on the low. You know what I mean? They're like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's all blowing up in their face. So I think that's a positive sign though that right wing extremism is being rejected worldwide. So that's positive.
And we've seen it in the first Trump administration. Like the courts, they've always been like pushing back in his executive orders, and such as like the Muslim ban, which it might have went through, but there was also pushbacks, and even circuit courts ruled against it and such. And now. And then it's like those circuit courts and federal courts are important because they're the ones that can keep the president in check. And we're still seeing that currently, but like obviously it's not in the same level, and also Trump is not like following the orders, but it just shows like the amount of outrage people are having, especially like knowing that this is much bigger than them and that they need to like be out there and really speak their voice and such. Like we can speak our voice in the international level as much as we can, but we also have to stand for our people, our neighbors, our like loved ones and such. Like
sense of community.
Exactly, a sense of community. And that sense of community is how we foster connection and just like help us grow together and almost establish like close bond like family.
Well said.
Where do you get your optimism from? Can I purchase?
Yeah, we got to get you started. we got to get you starting your own podcast for real.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, Tom. Oh, I'm sorry. Real quick, Tom. I know we have our other guest that popped on, so I want to just introduce him real quick.
And no worries. So, the leader of Veterans of Equality, their name is Guy.
Hello.
Hailing out from Texas.
How are you? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Time difference is what got me. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, it happens.
I knew it.
It
happens. We've had that problem before, so it's not a big deal. You're in Texas, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm in Texas.
All right. Well, tell us a little about yourself and what you do.
1 second. I want to make sure that we what are your pronouns, Guy? Just for.
Oh,
I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure. I wasn't sure what I want to make sure everything was good.
No, I appreciate that. Again, thank you for having me, y'all. My name is Guy Pena. I'm the president and founder of Veterans for Equality. We're probably going about 2.5 years strong. when I first started this group, it was an accident. I didn't mean to. It was just me and my brother showing up at a rally in our silkies, combat boots, with a poster board with
Nice.
this oath that we all took as veterans on it. And from there, it just freaking skyrocketed, and we haven't stopped. So basically, what we do, our organization goes around to events of the marginalized communities that are getting hit with protesters, hate speech, all that stuff. And we're a presence. We stand in the front lines, right in front of the protesters, making sure that they don't do anything to the event goers. If they have, a microphone, we have our speakers playing Disney music, because then Disney will shut it off and they can't post that. Yeah,
Big trouble.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. We're all over Texas, and we have another official chapter in Pennsylvania. Currently,
Nice. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, thank you. We're trying to figure out a way to go national, right? Because apparently, there's everybody needs our help. Oklahoma wants us to go, Colorado, California, Florida. It's just finding that funding to get out there.
Well,
yeah.
Funding
well,
is
if you need
difficult.
any help.
Oh, go ahead, Jack.
I was gonna say, if there's anything I could do and help in Pennsylvania, by all means, let me know. You know what I mean? I live in a small community, but I've been seeing a lot of people turning out for this last protest was actually pretty inspiring. So yeah,
it's hard to get the funding for anything, but being able to work with with people like Liz and Karen from Defense of Democracy.
Of which,
I mean, those are people that are taking their messages national, let's say. So they're the best people, as Liz shows up, to be able to work with anyone that can help spread the message. And it's funny because all of our messages seem to be starting to sound the same. Can we just help people that need it and not be assholes? That seems to be the thread that is holding us all together.
Yeah.
And
this is so hard.
Liz, I wish you got a chance to hear Deep talk, because if we had any money, we would hire him as a podcaster.
Literally, he just speaks brilliance. I'm like,
yes.
I might have ran across. Do you have a TikTok? Because I might have asked. You were spitting facts, and I was like, I feel like that's deep, but I don't want to assume. And I just. But it was just one video, and you were just expressing your frustrations. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but you were, just as you are now, you were brilliant. And I think it's young minds like yours that we need to encourage to kind of get involved in orgs like yours, Veterans for Equality, Fight Against Fascism. And I don't think that I gave or we had a chance for Deep to kind of talk about that. So I don't.
Whatever you want.
Do you want to just talk briefly about your role and DFD as a whole, just to kind of give the audience an idea? Because I don't know if everybody knows.
Do it.
Yeah, so I'm currently the volunteer state director for Defense of Democracy for Washington, D.C. And what that means is that even though Washington, D.C. is not a state because everything's managed by the federal government, although no taxation without representation, you know what I mean? So...
Hey, there's an argument for both on DC, and I would love to have that on a show.
Yeah, that I would love that too. Yeah, but yeah, so like for me personally, what my job is to like monitor how the education system is going in Washington D.C. from like the public school to its charter school, even to the higher ups, even to higher education such as universities, whether they're having school board meetings that discuss like budget cuts or any proposal of book bans, or even the most controversial aspect, school vouchers that like promote charter schools and cut away funding for
we've talked about that
public school, as well as like higher education and its like kind of failure to protect its college students. Like we've seen it from like Georgetown when it arrested one of its like, I think it was its students for like expressing its like views, which obviously people will have opinions of it, but like it's our First Amendment right to speak our views. And if we're like detaining students on campus for now, but if we're detaining people on campus, then that's a concern, as these universities are supposed to be a place for an academic grounds.
Hey, universities, Liz, I'm going to go there, have been the center of what I would say a war against free speech since, I don't know, the Vietnam War. Do we really need to go through Kent State? Do we need to go through all of that?
That probably was the biggest pushback. Of course, there were activities before that, but that's when the fight against students raising their voices really
How
was
about this?
targeted,
That's
it was
when the
so strong
government
about Vietnam.
That's when the government had the audacity to actually go after and attack free speech in front of people, and it was caught on camera.
Oh, you mean the time where veterans were getting spit on?
Yeah, which is amazing
that
because
was
wish the country understood what it was trying to say back then, and it just couldn't separate soldiers being forced to do something versus the government forcing them to do something. They could not. The country was not capable to understand that as an entire country.
Now we're being spit on metaphorically.
Now you're being shit on. I'm just
I'm saying that's not spit. That's a whole other.
It's nothing's changed. They've never given a shit about veterans. We've always been disposable to them.
It's always about how they can use you to get what they want. It's never about actually caring.
Someone said something in the chat during Brando's show today. Because I think someone, I don't remember who it was, might have mentioned, veterans feeling like they are being discarded. And someone said that, don't forget, the soldiers after the Revolutionary War were discarded too. We don't, as humans, treat the people we ask to go fight for us with any respect. Never have, never will. We give them the platitudes, we give them the parades, and we wrap them in blank flags, but we don't actually respect them and afford them any say and any due diligence. And it's something that this country has always done. And maybe every country has done that. I don't know.
I'll just tell you like personal story about this is where like the whole Sergeant Nobody comes from. Like, because my dad, I watched him, he was my hero. Like, he was just like indestructible to me growing up. I watched him go off to war. I watched him come back. You know what I mean? And then when he retired, he served his country for 22 years. He was also in Vietnam on top of Desert Storm. So 22 years, 2 wars. And then I watched this guy retire after all that just to end up working at Shop Vac for I think it was like $9.50 an hour at the time, coming home, beat the shit, absolutely exhausted. And just us struggling just to get by. And I'm like, well, at the time I was young. I was only like 15, but it was just like, what was it all for? Like all that sacrifice
at the rally.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
Well, think about it. What war was the last war that we actually fought for freedom?
Who's
World War II? Yeah.
The rest of the wars that we fought in.
We didn't choose to go into
the industrial complex.
Yeah, Vietnam was, yeah. Desert Storm was a joke. I mean, it's just amazing how they just. I mean, we started an entire war.
What's your opinion on the state of America in terms of veterans? Meaning, specifically, what can we do to show veterans that they are loved, even if the government isn't going to provide that love? And what can we do moving forward, assuming we have the ability to do anything positive?
And Mike, you know me, I'm the eternal optimist, right? With all these podcasts that we do. Might be a little Pollyanna, but eternal optimism. You said it, and they never will be afforded the respect that they should. That's why we are doing this, because this is the draw the line in the sand time. And of all things, even though they've been disrespected, we've never had the rewriting of history before related to our military.
That's true.
So that's pretty darn big. And I have to say that the whole element of parenting, parents have to teach their children to respect those that serve. And that comes from us, just raising that as an issue. This is ridiculous that they want to wipe out parts of our history based on what? Something that they don't like, something that they don't want to talk about.
They're holding up that card that tells you how white it all is and what is acceptable history versus no, that didn't happen.
Exactly. And holding up the flag. Well, I'm here to tell you, this whole movement is about taking our flag back.
I was going to say, we're taking it back.
Liz,
I've been talking about that for a long time.
You have just said something that Jeremy and I swear, we talked about this a long time ago, about trying to reclaim not just patriotism, but I've never been someone that ever looked at the flag. I'm not talking recently, but when I was growing up, I never looked at the flag and felt some national pride, not because I was ever told it wasn't something that you should feel, not because I was ever told to disrespect the flag or the country. I just, for whatever reason, did not feel that. And I found myself, the more and more as the flag and other patriotic symbols became infected by MAGA and mutilated by propaganda, I almost felt like, wait, that's mine too. You don't get to use that for that. So I've actually, I have to reach back out to them. There was a really cool tattoo shop around here that ended up contacting me one day, and I wanted to do something where we could do a promotion where people could get some sort of flag tattoo, but it's only for people who are like not MAGA jerks, like, because we need to start taking the flag back in some way or another. So
better yet, let
ours.
the MAGA jerks get the tattoos and use it as a fundraiser for something good.
There are flags available throughout history that are more appropriate. I think one would be the Confederate flag. They can have it.
Yeah,
they can have it. Nobody gives a shit about it. You can have that shit. I mean, the one from Nazi Germany's available, from what I understand. You guys are perfect. I mean, that one.
Using that.
Whew,
I think we need to. I think we need to redefine the definition of a patriot.
Yeah.
And I think we need to actually like put it in, like, whatever we got to do to pay for the Google thing to happen. No, for real, I'm not even kidding.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
We need to make sure that.
There's certain codes, they're SOS codes.
Oh yeah. Put it in the all the SEO.
So as luck would have it, babe, because you're marrying the most brilliant woman on earth,
I've been told.
you should probably go check out one of the most recent posts on TikTok and read the caption explicitly.
That's funny.
Well, actually, I mean, I did a video a long time ago. Not a long time ago, maybe 2 years ago or so. And I went over what a patriot meant to me. You know, I said, you know, being a patriot is anti-fascist, being a patriot is anti-racist. You know, I went down the whole list, you know, against homophobia, transphobia, all that stuff. Not worrying about how someone uses the bathroom or using their religion. We're supposed to be here to protect all those aspects of a person, not to beat them down. If you claim to be a patriot, you're for everybody.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Fuck. Sorry, Liz. I've been saying the same shit, man. I've been saying.
And when I tell you, MAGA got so upset.
Oh yeah, butthurt.
I shut TikTok down when I made that video. Who are you to tell somebody who a patriot is? I was like, my TV 214 member 4 tells me who a patriot is and who isn't. You serve the people with selflessness and honor and respect and dignity. If you can't do that, then you're not a patriot.
And that's exactly why I called for all the true patriots, and patriotism means you include everybody.
Right.
To come and join us at the event, because that's what we need. We need a sense of community, what I've been talking about at the beginning and what Deep talked about with the sense of unity. There's just so many things going on, and even the way we are organizing, and Guy, like with you wanting to branch out and having all, you know, being needed so many different places. This is the call. There's actually somebody who started a grassroots platform. I'm gonna have to send it to you guys in the chat. I think it's fightback2025.org. It's a little wonky, but it's people who are looking to kind of like organized. So they may be somebody who has media contacts, or somebody who's a notary, and somebody else who can help with like administrative or volunteer help. So it's very in the early stages, but I think if we get that out, it could become something that would be kind of a great tool for everybody and other orgs who are looking to really develop, because that would help a lot.
I'd throw it out there that what we're doing right now is we are building patriotism.
Yes.
It is, to me, because I'm old, it is, you know, honoring the flag, honoring the Star Spangled Banner, blah, 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 right? That's
that was 50s anti-commie
it's bullshit. What we were born and brought up in. And what I seek in patriotism is the feeling that we had after 9/11 as a country. That, I believe, was the most patriotic time in our country, really.
Probably.
There was a feeling of, our country will survive. Our country will be strong. It wasn't divide out within our country because, all of those different viewpoints were still then, but we came together under the guise of being patriots and saying, this is the United States of America. And I think we're redefining what that means now.
It's interesting. I think, Liz, you're onto something. There's 2 times, I think, when America experienced that, and it was a very different experience. The more recent one was 9/11, when America had already started to become more diverse and more aware of its diversity. The first time that happened was Pearl Harbor, when everyone lived in picket fences and mowed their lawn and did their job, and women couldn't get credit cards. But it was still a sense of, we are Americans and we need to defend Americanness. So what I want to know is, before I ask Guy to give their opinion on the erasure of history in the military and how that relates to the work for the rally, I want to say a comment from the Cosmic Cuban on Instagram, because I think it's very apt. Mark Twain's most famous quote on patriotism is, "Patriotism is supporting your country all the time and your government when it deserves it."
That's excellent. Yeah.
So, Guy, if you wouldn't mind, what does it mean to you, and what is your goal in this rally to really hammer the point down that military history, the diversity of it, is part of what makes it a strong military?
I mean, especially right now, because I'm a trans man, right? And I'm actually in my 19th year of service, so I'm one of those that they're trying to kick out. That was given 3 options. So now more than ever, right? It's been pretty hard, and for myself and my trans siblings in the military, now more than ever we need to step up and really fight back. Trans military members, LGBT military members have been in for forever, incognito at some point, but we've been in for a very long time, and now we are getting targeted once again. So for me, it is very personal to step up and do something a little bit different. With my organization, we've done rallies, but nothing to this extent, right? So now more than ever, I want to be a face for my trans siblings, for one, and then 2, the veterans that want to get out and do something, but don't know how to do it and don't know where to start. Now's the time for us to step up and be loud and be proud, and let the world know that veterans, we're not backing down. We're not going to be quiet. Like, it is our time to shine. We got to come out.
We have to hold the line.
Exactly.
Our job is to never be quiet.
Yeah. Something Diana said is, you don't stop serving. I think you serve. There may be more opportunity for you to serve your country as a veteran.
Yeah,
we're the loudest voice in the room.
Yep.
We sound off. We don't play around. And we're gonna lead this fight. That's it.
Need you.
Yeah.
So that.
A lot of times that when I go out to the events, especially when I first started the organization, I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, I didn't know there was cool veterans," or "Oh, I didn't know veterans had that mindset." Yes. I'm like, we're not all this type. True veterans, we're talking about patriotism, right? Patriotism. True veterans will fight for everybody, and that's why we're here. I want the world to know that true patriotism still exists, and we're going to bring that word back.
That's amazing, because I specifically I've had people who have served in my family, my grandparents, my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law, people that I love dearly and I have tremendous respect for in and out of their service. But to be able to see that service has to cross party lines, it has to cross religious lines, it has to cross everything that would divide people, because the America that I want to be a part of was never finished. It was never great. It was going to become great. That's why the Constitution is a living document. It is meant to be changed as you progress, not erased to go backwards. And I think I was very surprised over the last 2 years how ignorant and biased I was against our military in general, but especially veterans, because most of my exposure to veterans was through various media. They were mostly MAGA. They were mostly boomers, Vietnam vets, World War II vets, and it was people that either didn't know what was really going on in the world, were too far gone because of beliefs or propaganda to understand. But I'm telling you, this show that Jeremy and I have been so in love with for 2 years now has been so amazing to get me to learn about people that I never knew anything about. And veterans is one of the groups of people that I was like I say it all the time, most of the people we work with on this show now are veterans, and I think it's like the coolest thing ever. I just keep meeting more and more cool veterans, and it's awesome. Makes me happy.
And I mean, we've been, I think you're right. That has definitely been the best part of the show for me, is meeting all the different communities. Cause I'll be honest, I didn't know anything about the transgender community before we got involved in like our activism work and talking politics and stuff like that. And the only reason I even learned about it is because the right wing kept shoving it in my face. You know what I mean? And I think honestly, in a way, it's backfired. No, I mean, seriously, because I kept hearing like, what are they talking about? Because they sound like people are just running around like there was a serial person out there going around just chopping off body parts. And I'm
like, they are doing that in schools, Jeremy. They're forcing
like, and then they got you got Donald Trump going, you're sending kids to school, and then they come back with you, days later, a different gender. It's like, what world are we living in that people believe this shit, though? You know what I mean? But they have completely programmed these people and brainwashed enough people to make it a problem for all of us. All of us have to suffer because of this.
That's why I think it's important, and I want to just spend a little bit of time going through some, not definitions of, but I want people to see how important Gen Z is now and is going to be, because tonight we're here obviously to talk about the rally on April 30th and how excited we are, how much we still need help raising funds, and how much we can't wait to spread this message of anti-fascism and protecting military history. But it's also important to understand that we have to hold it together and hand it off to the next generation. So I want to point out a couple of things. All right. This is an interesting thing I came across that shows the first turnout for a generation's elections and the percentage of them that actually showed up to vote. So baby boomers, 27.9, Gen X, millennials, a little lower. Gen Z in 2022, their first election, 28% of them showed up. The most percentage of members of a generation to show up on their first possible election was Gen Z. I expect Gen Alpha is going to blow that out of the water. But what is Gen Z actually doing with their time? Because it seems to me Gen Z is spending more and more time with their community and focusing on building community than a lot of generations that I knew, including my own. So 51% of Gen Zs have attended a rally or protest to support a specific cause or social issue. 66% of Gen Zers say that most of their activism takes place online. 1/3 of Gen Zers have reached out to a politician to lobby for a specific cause or a social issue at least once. 61% of Gen Z volunteer for a cause that's meaningful to them at least once a year. 32% of Gen Zers and 40% of Gen Z college students are regularly involved in activism or social justice work. I think that's phenomenal. Let's start looking at the volume, because it's okay to see what their habits are, but are these habits going to translate to some sort of political shift? And I think if we hold off the fascism, the answer is holy crap, yes. There will be 41 million Gen Z voters in 2024. Obviously, this is a bit older. That's plus 8 million new youths will be eligible to vote. Think about how many people additional voted last election. Now, it still didn't work out, but those people, they don't go away. That's just going to keep going. 62% of Gen Zers reported they would absolutely vote, and I believe it. Here's an interesting one. 2022 versus 2024, the major youth gender gap. In 2024, young women voted 58% for Harris versus 41 Trump. Young women in 2020, 65-33. Men of the same age type of bracket are doing the same thing. So we have to worry about the support that we are losing to other groups that are trying to steal away the youth and use them for their ill-gotten gains. And what I mean by that is people like Joe Rogan, who are maybe sometimes trying to make sense of it, but are still contributing negatively. People like Andrew Tate, people that are targeting Gen
Kirk.
Z and Gen Alpha to poison them.
Charlie
Kirk is on campus right now.
Right now,
Is there a VOR podcast that talks about how they've targeted those young white males by any chance?
Because that's what they did. That's what they did. They specifically targeted lonely, dumbass, naive white men, young men.
Incels.
Here's another one. Oh, incels, definitely. Here's an interesting one. Gen Z constitutes 26% of the total world population. 26%, a quarter of the population. That's 2 billion people are in Gen Z. Gen Z is one of the most racially and ethnically diverse generations across the United States. Nearly 99% of Gen Zs either own a smartphone or have access to one. So obviously this is a little old, but my point is the technology gap is what can save us. Just like we were talking, Jasmine, about, people forgot to be part of their community. Okay, well, we could use now being online to build that community, both distant and close, right? People do it all the time with Facebook groups and their communities. Well, we could do the same thing with grassroots organizations. We could do the things, just create a freaking education club and get a bunch of people together and discuss what's going on, spread the word, show facts, more information. I want to show people what it looks like when Gen Z is active and what they are protesting. Fear is no place in school. Thoughts and prayers don't save lives. Gun reform will. Okay, these are the things that matter to the largest voting bloc in the world, if not the United States. Listen to the kids. It's something we hold very dear. Okay, I'll take my exams when you take action. F people, not the planet. I mean, it's pretty clear what this future that we are trying to build wants. We have to hold off with the past, the gross, evil, fascist ghosts of history that are trying to claw their way back and stop that progress. We have the power if we can hold them off and protect the next generations from the onslaught. And that attack is veterans, is diversity, is military history, is American history. Sorry.
So I think that's a really good point that youth are not afraid of the future because they know they have it handled and they know that they are going to be in charge. My son keeps telling me, Mom, don't worry about it. My son in his youth doesn't realize that you have to fight off fascism before your next generation is able to take over like they are. But he gives me such hope, and his friends and so forth, and they're not going to deal with all this bullshit. They just aren't. It's not part of who they are as a generation to be concerned with some of the little petty things that us older people and the folks that have raised this whole MAGA to the level that it has been. They're not going to deal with that.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
No, I said some of these kids deserve the Medal of Honor before half of the freaking people that Donald Trump gave the Medal of Honor.
No, that's
these kids are an active. The school system is an active combat zone for them. That's why they're so damn brave.
Well, look at David Hogue. He is tipping the Democratic Party on its ear. Now, I don't know if they're going to shut him down, but he is sending a strong message. And those people in the party need to realize,
and what generation
we better listen to what he's talking about.
That is a Gen Z representative. I know, Jeremy, we got to wrap up. I promised Jasmine we would touch on one more thing because it, in my mind, encapsulates how the current administration sees education, sees class, and sees the economic disparities and who gets breaks and who doesn't, okay? So the Trump administration announced today they will start to seize wages, pensions, tax refunds to repay student loans. Debt cannot be wiped away. That's odd because the Republicans and the rich people in this country wipe their debt away all the time.
PPP loans.
Yeah, exactly. So the Department of Education said on Monday it will resume collections on defaulted federal student loans for the first time since 2020. Remember when the pandemic hit and everyone lost their job and couldn't pay? Well, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters in her weekly briefing that the Trump administration will go after those who don't repay the loans instead of placing the burden on taxpayers. Quote, the government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers, tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages.
Yeah,
just want to remind everyone who this is. Okay, she's a Trumper, and she's our press. She's our press secretary. But I also want to point out that our wonderful and just impeccable Secretary of Education for a department that's being shut down. Explain that to me. Also, her opinion on this. So the Trump administration to resume collections on student loan borrowers. After a 5-year hiatus, the U.S. Department of Ed says it will begin resuming collections on May 5th. Linda McMahon, who is known for doing nothing except being married to a wrestling promoter.
I literally say, what are her qualifications?
She got thrown through a table on a WrestleMania. I don't know. But what she had to say was, and this is gross, by the way, American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. Now, that is a dig on Biden trying to give students a break when the country and the world was crumbling to shit, because sometimes there's more important things than banks making money on interest on student loans.
She also thinks that they're going to be apparently pouring A1 steak sauce all over kids.
God,
as part of their curriculum.
Yeah.
You hear that? Oh, Deep, look that up. She literally called it she's talking about AI. She literally called it A1.
A1.
The Secretary of Education called it A1.
Huh?
How dumb
is
right now?
Yeah.
First RFK
really
with his first RFK with his autism comment. Now this, like, what the
and these
hell?
are from people who are deeply unqualified. So, like,
absolutely,
no clue.
These people are all DUI hires.
That was the qualification.
Their games.
That was the qualification, that they were not qualified to serve in office. That was their first qualification.
Didn't they just stop testing milk for like diseases
and
shit?
Yep.
Because they cut everybody at the FDA. It's a nightmare. But unfortunately, I'm sorry, guys, we got to wrap everything up.
I want to talk just a little bit about the rally, if I could, before we.
We have
that's what
I apologize for coming on late.
Also, I want to extend an invitation to both Deep and Guy. This episode. A lot of our episodes get out of hand, and you are welcome back anytime. But go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, definitely, please.
I just want to put that call to action out there. So many of your faithful viewers really have donated already, which is great. And we really want to put this out there. And I'm just going to lay it on the line. We are in the final stages of preparing for this rally. And if you look at this man, let's see, right here, Tom, he's trying to hide. This was his baby, right? He came up with this idea. And it will be the ultimate insult if he has to dig into his pocket and fund some of the things that are going on. It will be the ultimate slap to all veterans everywhere. So I'm challenging all of your viewers to not only donate themselves, even if it's $5 or $10. Believe it or not, it has added up and it's helping us. But also to reach out to those they know and say, I was watching this podcast and I don't really know these people, but look up what's going on in DC. Look up this rally. Look up the speakers that we're having. Pieces of our U.S. history are being wiped out. People will come and they will speak about those things. And we can't do this alone as a small organizing committee. And Tom, thank God, had this, brainstorm. And it's coming to life. We are going to rally in DC.
I can't believe it.
So awesome.
We're expecting thousands of people, but that does take money. That's just the reality. We don't have any funders. We don't have any funders. So
and porta potties. For
yes.
To support, I want to hurry up because I know Jared wants to close
out.
No,
it's cool.
X-Veteran1 to 53.
I was going to say that.
5 to donate. Also, we just started our merch line. This is one of the items you can get our brand. There's a Dare parody shirt which people really like. If you go to fightagainstfascism.org and click the merch link, every purchase, the proceeds are going directly towards the cost of this event.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Also, for the website information, if you want to look the description of the video, I have all that in there, as well as our LinkedIn or Linktree, LinkedIn. I'm tired. Linktree information. So that has all of our social medias, all that stuff on there. So if you guys want to follow us on social media as well. I don't, unfortunately, Deep Guy, I don't know if you guys have social medias, or I get Deep does. We're going to have to get your information out there. Tom on TikTok is Combat Vets Against Trump. It's pretty simple. Definitely follow him on there if you can. So yeah, I appreciate everybody's time. I know this episode is a little bit chaotic. We kind of threw it together at the last minute. It is, for some of us, it's our second podcast of the day. So yeah, my brain hurts.
I need to get an hour nap before I go to work.
Thank you guys for coming on. You know, I really appreciate this.
Definitely
community effort. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Guy, from now on, if we ever give you a time, it'll be East Coast time. Remember,
every time zone from now on. Every time zone out from now on.
You know what?
Yeah,
Jasmine, you're right. We actually have to do a better job of preparing our guests, so that is on us.
Yeah.
So here's the follow, right? We've talked about patriotism tonight. Be a patriot. Send some money to this event that is going to change.
Send us some money.
Change the rhetoric in this country. Yes. They can't say that is patriotic, what we have been looking at. That is not what our flag stands for. It is not what these veterans have fought for. My dad was World War II, so this is, really deep within my person that it's important.
Yeah, I just found out my great grandfather was a World War I vet, and
wow,
his heart is currently with my second cousin because he's a Navy vet, and I'm like, can I please have that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Just to be able to hold that.
So please donate today and spread the word. Those two things are what we need.
Also, if you can't, just you can always share this video, or like they said, or I forget who said it now. Just let people know what we're doing. Word of mouth is a huge thing, and it is FAFO. If you can't remember, fightagainstfascism.org. FAFO, pretty simple. Also, we do have sarcastic merch as well on our YouTube channel that I'm still trying to perfect. I'm still working on, but we're getting it out there slowly but surely. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming on, and we hope to see you in DC. If you can't be there, check out the live stream. We will be there, front and center, boots on the ground. And I hope, I hope this inspires more people, just to get out there and not be scared of, what they're trying. They're trying to have us afraid. They want us afraid. They want us compliant.
Shock and awe.
The more we fight back, the more we resist, the more chance we have of winning. But we have to do it as a united front. So it's the only way we're going to do it, man. Everybody have a good rest of your night. We love you all, and we will talk to you guys.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, very soon.
Everybody.
See ya.